Speaking of the meta monsters, HaydonusActual's team really looks like it came from the old meta, with the exception of the Shadow Dusclops. Now we know that he didn't bring the Shadow Dusclops at all on day one. I think he brought it earlier today and it was working out for him. We'll have to see how it stacks up against Reis' team. It actually looks, I think, pretty safe, with the exception of the Shadow Drapion.
If I'm looking here, so over the last 15 regionals, 13 Zoom rolls for winning teams. So yeah, no, it's about as strong as it possibly can get. David and Goliath maybe in a different sense as well. Looking at Reis' team, we have the Shadow Drapion, the Dugong, Shadow Steelix that we've seen so much of. Goliathopod has been effective for him as well with that update to Aqua Jet being a little bit more accessible water type charge attack, but he's also running that Gastrodon and Shadow Jumpluff with Fairy Wind, Aerial Ace, and Acrobatics. No access to the Energy Ball, which maybe makes that Shadow Kanto Marowak a bit better for HaydonusActual.
Now, taking a look at their achievements here, we've said it several times, but Haydonus has a lot of top cuts, but no regional wins and no regional finals. Reis, on the other hand, of course, also many top cuts, but also most recently won the Los Angeles Regional Championships. And then, of course, just the most recent regional was second place in San Antonio.
If we're simply looking at the 2025 season, realistically, Reis2Occasion has a more successful, objectively, 2025 season than Haydonus. Haydonus has attended a lot of tournaments, but he's been missing out on some of these top cuts. So this is a major step for him and, you know, an opportunity where he can say, I'm back. Reis2Occasion, though, he's been knocking on the door. Top 8 at Louisville, top 2 in San Antonio. I mean, eventually, if you keep throwing darts at a dartboard and you're getting so close to that bullseye, eventually it's likely that you're going to hit. All right, guys, it's the grand finals. Let's move into it. A great lead for Reis2Occasion, resisting all of the fast and charge attacks from the Dugong from Haydonus. However, Haydonus opting to stay in, at least for the time being.
Haydonus doesn't have an answer. He's got the Marowak and the Dusclops in the back, both of which take super effective damage from the Glyspod. He's kind of just forced to stay in here and muscle his way through.
Yeah, he does land this first Icy Wind now, but he's already sub 50% HP. I think Reis is going to need another Excess or maybe plus some Shadow Claws. I don't know if Haydonus will be able to reach a second or maybe even third Icy Wind. Really depends on how Reis wants to play this match.
Yeah, Reis farms up a little bit more. I think that was 4 Shadow Claws before throwing the Excessor, so picture perfect timing as per usual. I think Haydonus may have just reached a charge attack, so we'll have to see if he decides to fire it off.
He's got one ready to go, and he's now 4 Ice Shards away, meaning that Reis2Occasion is going to need to knock out in 6 Shadow Claws. I don't know if this Glyspod's going to be able to do it after a double debuff. I think he's going to be able to, but it's going to be really close here, Soph.
Yeah, worst case scenario, he can throw an X-Scissor, but looks like he does get the full farm down. Tons of energy here, but you have to remember that he is debuffed.
Okay, throws the Aqua Jet. Haydonus, despair on his face. Maybe a little acting going on there as well. Unable to get that Hex through. What that means is that Reis is able to get back-to-back Aqua Jets here. They are double debuffed. Okay, well, maybe a little bit of a helping hand there from Reis2Occasion, opting to go for the Shadow Claw rather than just immediately firing that Aqua Jet. That allowed for that Hex to knock out.
All right, well, this is the Mud Slap mirror that we were talking about, Wholesome, and I'm not sure whether they're synchronized here, but it looks like Reis2Occasion is able to fire off the Body Slam first.
Typically, the Gastrodon is going to be winning charge attack priority in this situation. You have to give the advantage in general to the Shadow Kanto Marowak because it has the better charge attacks, but realistically in the 2-shield matchup, if you're up energy or even on even energy, Gastrodon has a lot of play simply because it wins charge attack priority.
All right, continuing to Mud Slap down here. Gastrodon just throwing off this Body Slam, and Haydonus is using another shield. And at this point, if you're Reis, you have to be thinking, well, maybe I don't actually need this Gastrodon because my Drapion can just throw an Aqua Tail to knock this out.
Yeah, you have seen the Shadow Dusclops already, and as Reis, you just need to realign that Drapion into that Dusclops, and you should have no problem. Okay, in fact, here comes the Drapion. Aqua Tail loaded, ready to go just before the Bone Club. You can see the frustration on the face of Haydonus. Reis2Occasion will knock out the Shadow Kanto Marowak and just needs to get this Shadow Dusclops out of the way as well. And guess what? You've got super effective crunches that you're going to be loading up very quickly. Haydonus needs to get to 2 Ice Punches, but I don't even know that 1 Ice Punch is enough to knock out.
I don't think it does. I think it's 3 Ice Punches, 1 to take this first shield from Reis and 2 to knock out. But I think Reis is just actually already at the crunch, just as 1 Poison Sting to ensure the good timing. And, you know, this is a Shadow Dusclops, not the regular, very bulky one. So this crunch is going to knock out the Dusclops.
Game number 1 goes to Reis2Occasion. Earlier in that matchup, we saw that Golisopod farm down, and I think that really just set up Reis to be so far ahead in that matchup. Yes, it's a great lead, but he also committed to that Shadow Claw down. He did it in exactly 6, and despite being double attack debuff from that Icy Wind, he was able to get at least one Aqua Jet off into that Shadow Dusclops, which put it in crunch range at the end of the game.
Exactly, so great advantage coming out of the lead, and the reason that Reis was able to do that, HaydonusActual didn't have an answer, or actually, I mean, in that situation, you usually want 2 answers to your bad leads, but he really had to just stay in that matchup, muscle through, and, just kind of came out with such a huge disadvantage.
It's one of those I hate it here moments, but there's nothing I can do. So, yeah, had to stick around in that matchup. You did see how close it got, though. I mean, realistically, and maybe with some different stat prioritizations, maybe you're not able to farm down with your Golisopod there, and that Dugong reaches 1 additional charge attack. So it was about as close as it could be. Now that said, HaydonusActual looks like he's ready to go here. He's locked in. You can see it on his face. He's saying, all right, well, maybe just with 1 or 2 small tweaks, if I do this, throw 1 less here, throw 1 more here, maybe that's going to be it. But we're ready. Both trainers locked in. It's game number 2. Currently, Reis2Occasion up 1-0.
All right, and we've got a thrilling Dugong mirror in the lead. HaydonusActual, of course, led the Dugong last game as well. Reis bringing it in here, and we'll have to see, do they go for Icy Wind or the damage on Drill Run?
I think the determining factor of this matchup is where the placement for this Drapion is going to be. If Reis2Occasion swaps out first, I want to give the advantage to HaydonusActual, especially if he's able to get his Azumarill lined up versus that Drapion, or maybe even realign his Dugong against that Drapion. But if it gets aligned versus that Shadow Dusclops, that would spell disaster for HaydonusActual.
Yeah, that's true, but I think Reis has a kind of nice backline here where both of his Pokemon are relatively flexible, whereas HaydonusActual, like you said, really needs to be careful that the Dusclops does not get aligned with the Drapion. Key
information here, so who wins charge attack priority between these 2 Dugongs? If you remember, Reis2Occasion, I think, was having that same situation when he was playing versus some other trainers, specifically Doombug recently. The winner of that charge attack priority does have an advantage in that mirror match.
All right, well, some quick swaps here. HaydonusActual went into the Azumarill, met by Reis's Drapion, which means that the Drapion will not be seeing the Dusclops later down the line. Crunch coming through, and Reis does miss the Crunch debuff.
What's awkward now is that this Gastrodon has to rely on Earth powers to do consistent charge attack pressure into the Shadow Dusclops. Those body slams are double resisted, so that could be a big win for HaydonusActual.
All right, well, Drapion continuing to slowly chip away at this Azumarill. Azumarill, can't really bubble down without taking another charge attack, but obviously these Poison Stings are adding up very quickly. No more defense drops.
Okay, do you just throw on bad timing here? That's exactly what you do. Reis2Occasion yet again recognizing, okay, I'm not going to be able to get to this crunch. I'm assuming you're going to throw on bad timing. I know when you're going to throw, so I'm going to get any parting chip damage that I can. And yeah, now puts this Azumarill in a range that he may even be able to Ice Shard down, or just an easier Mud Slap down.
HaydonusActual just hitting a fraction of those bubbles, knowing it's going to be enough to take out the Drapion. And Reis now showing his final Pokemon. It's the Gastrodon. And if you're HaydonusActual, you have the Dusclops. And like you mentioned, Jim, you know that Reis has to throw these heavier hitting Earth Powers to do damage. But first, Icy Wind with the Dugong.
How much energy does Reis2Occasion currently have on his own Dugong? That's my question. I want to see exactly what he has in the bank. I think if I'm HaydonusActual, I may even try and catch a charge attack here, knowing that it could be the body slam. It would be double resisted. That would have been a really nice play there into that Shadow Dusclops, albeit a risky play. He shields up this body slam. First protect shield gets stripped away from HaydonusActual.
Yeah, resisted non-stab body slam, but he does get this debuff off, which is quite nice, forcing Reis to use a shield. And now, you're thinking about, how do I get rid of this Gastrodon? Maybe you hope that Hexes and just 1 Shadow Punch are enough, but Reis actually brings in the Dugong, hoping to debuff this Dusclops.
Maybe we could have seen HaydonusActual try to throw that Shadow Punch right away before this Icy Wind is loaded up. Still able to tank this, no problem. 2 Icy Winds are not enough to knock out. Huge stab product for this Dusclops, and it paces to charge attacks so quickly. What's awkward though is HaydonusActual is with how fast you're launching charge attacks, you're giving Reis2Occasion's Dugong so many free Ice Shards that it's able to pace kind of artificially quickly to these Icy Winds.
Now we see HaydonusActual continuing to overfarm, allowing Reis to debuff him yet again. So I wonder how much energy HaydonusActual is hoping to accumulate before throwing a charge attack.
Can you just farm this all the way down? I think you need 3 more Hexes to do it. Maybe 4 more Hexes. All right, HaydonusActual at 100 energy. How much energy does this Gastrodon have? I don't think, he's not able to get the charge attack, or sorry, the fast attack through. That could be devastating, and we haven't seen how much energy this Gastrodon has.
Yeah, I think for Reis, you probably, just want to get as much Mud Slap damage as you can. it already has a body slam, and this is another Shadow Punch coming through for HaydonusActual.
I think that HaydonusActual has another Shadow Punch ready to go as well. I think he was at 100 energy and did one Hex and ready to go. I don't know that this is enough to knock out, but Reis2Occasion, he might be able to get to 2 body slams and knock out both of these remaining Pokemon. There's the Dugong and there's still... Okay, and he does get the catch here. This was the body slam. So how close is Reis to this next body slam?
I mean, I think he can just try to go for a Mud Slap, right? The Dusclops is very, very low. He's just tapping the middle of the screen, and you know, that last Mud Slap from before, it doesn't even matter. He takes it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Reis looking really strong and just a little bit ahead of HaydonusActual. HaydonusActual seems to be the trainer on the back foot right now, and Reis2Occasion is 1 game away from resetting the bracket, getting the equalizer, and then we're going to see a Grand Finals reset. Meanwhile, if HaydonusActual wants to close things out now and he's going to have to lock in and get a reverse sweep 3-0. We've seen this happen before, though.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, HaydonusActual is going to have to take at least 3 games off of Reis. So, you know, might as well do them now before you have to head into another best-of-5 series. But yeah, Reis is doing a really great job continuing his momentum into these Grand Finals. Like you said, almost on his way to a full reset here.
He's mixing things up right now. He's used the Steelix, he's used the Gliscod, now he's using the Dugong and Gastrodon. It would not shock me, maybe if we even see this Jumpluff come out at some point, maybe to try and catch something like the Shadow Kanto Marowak, that it triple resists those Mud Slaps.
Well, I think he's going to be continuing to rely on the Gastrodon because, silly as it seems, it's even, you know, a pretty reliable safe swap. It can also probably just kind of slap through most of the leads on HaydonusActual's side.
So, if you remember this from San Antonio, the trainer that had no Mud Slap resist previously, you know who that was? Reis2Occasion. Now he has that Shadow Jumpluff as well as that Gliscod, 2 Pokemon that are resisting, or in fact triple resisting, those Mud Slaps. So he seems prepared for the Shadow Kanto Marowak here in Vancouver versus San Antonio. All right, this is game number 3 in our initial round of Grand Finals. We're going to be bringing the Azumarill now for HaydonusActual. It's going to be met by the Gastrodon on the side of Reis2Occasion.
Fairly neutral matchup. Both of these are using 3 turn fast attacks, but you have to remember that these Mud Slaps are just a little bit more efficient than Bubble in terms of that damage and energy.
Again, the placement of this Drapion will be everything. If you get it lined up versus the Shadow Kanto Marowak, disaster. Get it lined up versus the Shadow Dusclops, and that is going to be your best case scenario. HaydonusActual immediately goes for this Ice Beam, though. It's going to do a nice chunk of damage into the Gastrodon, take it to roughly 50% HP. Reis2Occasion continuing to farm up, though, needs an additional 5 Mud Slaps to get to this Earth Power. The one thing HaydonusActual has going for him is he gets to these Ice Beams in 5-5, whereas Reis2Occasion needs 6-5 to get to double Earth Power.
And that's exactly the upside of going straight for Ice Beam rather than Play Rough, and Reis actually hangs on with just a couple of HP to get off this Earth Power. You mentioned how critical Switch Advantage is, and HaydonusActual is actually going to give it up here.
Yeah, no, in the Zero Shield matchup, we see Reis2Occasion winning with his Gastrodon, and unless, for some reason, we see Drapion be brought in here by Reis2Occasion, things are looking really, really very strong for him. All right, no, it is going to be the Dugong. Now, the quick swap from HaydonusActual brings in his Shadow Dusclops. It's met by the Drapion. Things are looking very grim right now for HaydonusActual.
But they're looking fantastic for Reis. He's got his Dark type aligned on the Ghost. He's got his Ice type aligned on the Ground type. And, I mean, if I were HaydonusActual, I would just be thinking about the next game, but he's continuing to throw these Ice Punches. I think we also see the defense fall on the Dusclops there.
Yeah, it was tough to see with the graphic there, but I heard the defense drop for the crunch, and he might even be in Poison Sting downrange if you really want to go for that avenue. Oh, actually going for a bait here as HaydonusActual throws the Shadow Punch. This is not enough to knock out. Reis2Occasion calls it. I think the next Shadow Punch is 2 away. I think you do get there. No way! Poison Sting down into the Ghost type. Drapion doing a lot of things here in these Grand Finals.
Has a lot of energy here, but I think if you're Reis, you know you can just Ice Shard down after this Aqua Tail lands, and I'm not even sure if HaydonusActual is going to tap his screen. I saw him put his phone down already. He is actually tapping, but you see those Ice Shards adding up so quickly, and you know I felt like this game was pretty much over as soon as Reis's Gastrodon hung on from the Ice Beam.
I think if HaydonusActual uses that Protect Shield on the second Earth Power, gets a farm down, still has some destinations for that energy to go, I think that if you get that Shadow Kanto Marowak aligned versus that Drapion, it's just such a good check. If you're bringing Marowak, you have to have it in the right matchup. And if you're losing lead, chances are you're not going to have that right matchup. And yeah, 3-0 sweep to reset the bracket. Reis2Occasion looks unstoppable.
Well, it's a tricky situation for HaydonusActual because Switch Advantage matters a lot for him, but for Reis, even if he doesn't get the best alignment, he still has neutral to positive matchups across the board, right? So, I mean, obviously in that case, he wanted the Drapion to avoid the Kanto Marowak, but I think in the game too, it would have been just Drapion versus either Azumarill or Dusclops, both of which are completely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, these trainers are taking a little bit of a breather here, taking a look at the team sheets, trying to cook something up. What's going to be the answer for Haydonis? Reis2Occasion, he has the experience. He's won 3 of these regionals. He's been to at least 5 grand finals. He was recently in the grand finals just a couple months ago here. So he's feeling like the momentum is on his side, and it's anyone's race at this point. First to 3 wins will take home the title of Vancouver Regional Champion.
The reset actually feels a little bit misleading though, because on the paper, it's 0-0, but when you think about what just happened, right? Reis won 3 games before Haydonis could win a single one. So you have to imagine that's kind of getting in their heads, right? Reis is thinking, I have a great matchup here. All I need to do is keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah. Whereas for Haydonis, he really needs to come up with a separate strategy.
I'm wondering, like, just looking at this team for Haydonis, what the answer is going to be. If you bring that Charge Bug, well, then that's threatened by the Gastrodon. Yes, it'll do nicely into things like the Dugong potentially, maybe the Gliscopod if that gets brought out as well. But yeah, you don't want to see that Steelix as well. This team from Reis2Occasion seems to have a hard answer for everything. And yeah, Reis says, look, you're going to have some weakness somewhere all the time. But as far as balanced teams that I've seen throughout the meta, this is maybe one of the best balanced teams that I've seen in a long time.
And he has a beautiful mix of these offensively oriented Pokemon like the Gliscopod, then that really flexible Pokemon in the Shadow Drapion, as well as the Dugong, and then of course those bulkier Pokemon like Jumpluff and Steelix.
I think that Reis2Occasion is recognizing that Haydonis wants to bring the Shadow Dusclops. I think the thing that Haydonis has seen is that he's anticipating that Gastrodon every game, and if he can have this Dusclops where you have to land that Earth Power, there's nothing that Body Slam is going to do, well, in return, Reis then brings that Drapion, which, yes, you have to watch out for that Shadow Kanto Marowak, but Reis is finding a way to avoid it seemingly every game.
Yeah, I do feel like Haydonis is thinking, I just have to bring my best Pokemon versus his Gastrodon. We've seen him bringing the Azumarill and the Dusclops every game. I mean, Dugong has, like you mentioned earlier, a pretty decent matchup into the Gastrodon, but you know, that kind of just makes Haydonis even more predictable, right? Reis knows that the Dusclops is coming, and that's why he keeps bringing the Drapion.
And for Haydonis, he thinks, okay, I like the Shadow Kanto Marowak for the Drapion. I like the Dugong neutrally in a lot of situations. Then you look at the Pokemon like Gliscopod that just completely core break it, and it's just so difficult to rationalize bringing them. All right, well, this is it. Grand Finals reset. Haydonis trying to get his first regional title. Meanwhile, Reis2Occasion 3 games away from becoming the only 4-time regional champion across every single season. Here we go, game number 1.
All right, and a horrible first couple of situations for Haydonis. Lost the lead and currently losing the switch, and he brought the Dusclops. Ice Punch coming through here, but Reis able to tank it easily on his Drapion.
Haydonis cannot catch a break here. He's able to land this Ice Punch, but you're going to need another Ice Punch. Meanwhile, Reis2Occasion almost has 2 crunches ready to go. We saw this last crunch land. I think the Dusclops was able to barely hang on, but it ended up getting poison stung down.
All right, and Reis did just reach the Aqua Tail, but Dusclops is already firing off this Ice Punch. And I think if you're Reis, like you mentioned, not only can you Poison Sting down and come out with a ton of energy, that's just going to allow you to maintain that incredible alignment. Oh, but Haydonis actually reaches a resisted Shadow Punch here.
Does Reis know the counts for Ice Punch versus Shadow Punch? Yes, he does! Able to call the bait there. He comes out with a ton of energy, and Haydonis unable to get the Poison Sting through there with his own Drapion.
All right, I think Reis kind of recognized that. He's throwing his first Aqua Tail. He does have 2 banked here, and it looks like he's actually just going to hard swap into the Gastrodon. Again, recognizing just how safe it is against Haydonis' entire team. He's bringing in the Azumarill, but Reis is already at an Earth Power.
I can see on Haydonis' face a face of pain. He has only a crunch left on that Drapion. And yes, while he has 2 Protect Shields for his Azumarill, not only does he need to get through this Gastrodon that's up energy, there's a full Dugong hanging out in the back there as well, and I think still some energy on the Drapion too.
And I don't think Haydonis has even seen the Dugong. I mean, for a game that looks this bad, maybe your goal is just to try to see all 3 Pokemon.
Yeah, no, you know, Haydonis, he's behind in this match. He's lost 3 consecutive battles. Assuming that he's going to lose this battle, he's really going to have a gut check and figure out what he's going to do, because Reis just seems to be 1 step ahead.
It does, and Azumarill is reaching a move, and Reis maybe actually kind of went for an Ice Beam catch, but Haydonis doesn't throw his energy. He does throw the Play Rough now onto Dugong, which is going to be some nice neutral damage, but I mean, Reis has so much energy on his Gastrodon. He still has a shield, and here comes this is just an Aqua Tail from Haydonis.
I think Reis might even call this one here. Does he let it go? No, last second does shield the Aqua Tail, but I don't think that Haydonis is even able to get to another charge attack. I would have liked to have seen the crunch there to at least get the utility of the defense debuff potential, 30%.
Azumarill now the final Pokemon for Haydonis, and Reis knows it. He's throwing this Icy Wind to just permanently debuff the Azumarill, really putting the nail in the coffin there. Not going to even come close to fainting to the next play rough, and I think Reis has this game.
Game number 1, it will be going to Reis2Occasion, but this is probably the most crucial moment for Haydonis in the entire tournament. He has to figure out a way to stop the momentum of Reis2Occasion, or else this is just going to be an avalanche. If he goes down to 0-2 to Reis2Occasion, it is basically impossible to come back. He needs to focus on this next game and desperately needs to get a game win to cut off this momentum from Reis.
But look at the team compositions of 6 here, right? I've talked about how safe the Gastrodon is for Reis2Occasion, but that's not just the only result of having a really safe Pokemon. It's not just that you're afraid of seeing the Gastrodon as Haydonis. It's also that it just makes Haydonis so predictable for Reis2Occasion. Right? We saw that Haydonis lost the lead here. He goes into Dusclops. Reis, of course, expecting the Dusclops to come every game, and he has the Drapion.
Yeah, I think Haydonis tried to throw in the Azumarill there, saying, I don't think you're going to bring the Steelix. Maybe this Azumarill will have neutral enough play. But when you're that far behind, you've already had your Shadow Dusclops locked in versus that Shadow Drapion. You're just too far behind to come back.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're Haydonis, you probably just need to try and make some really hard reads here, because I don't think you're going to be able to outplay neutrally from such a team composition disadvantage.
Yeah, you can see that the one thing Haydonis was able to do is get a Protect Shield versus that Drapion, 2 Ice Punches, and the fact that you're able to hang on versus 1 Crunch, yeah, there's definitely a lot of good play for that Shadow Dusclops, but just not able to get the alignment that he needs. All right, we're going to move into game number 2 here in this Grand Finals reset. Haydonis currently down 0-1. He cannot catch a break. It's the Shadow Kanto Marowak into the Golisopod.
Oh my goodness, another terrible lead, and he switches in his Ghost-type Dusclops into this Shadow Claw Golisopod.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have to go, ask Haydonis what he was doing earlier this week. It seems like even karma is against him right now. He has been unable to find a lead in any of these games.
Oh my goodness. It's just getting worse and worse. Not only did he have to use a shield already, now Reis has already switched in his Drapion. Another fantastic matchup for him. And Reis, at this point, is up a shield.
I mean, I think Haydonis is getting a little desperate here. He's trying to bring Pokemon that he hasn't been bringing throughout the rest of the tournament, or sorry, the rest of these matchups, saying, okay, maybe the Charge Bug is going to be a core breaker. And while it would have lined up very nicely into that Golisopod, he's still unable to find the alignment. And you know where that Charge Bug is going to line up? Against the Gastrodon.
Yeah, he has to know there's the Gastrodon in the back, and at this point, if you're Haydonis, you're just like, all right, maybe there's some tiny chance that Reis somehow went ABA weak to my Charge Bug, and that's really, the only hope he has, but unfortunately for him, it is going to be the Gastrodon.
Adding insult to injury, unable to get the Mudslap through there. I don't think it's going to have any real tangible impact other than taking 1 additional Poison Sting, but here we go, you're down a shield. Here comes your Charge Bug. Will it core break? No, not today.
This just looks like such a one-sided match. I mean, you mentioned this is such a crucial moment for Haydonis. He's about to go down 0-2 in the Grand Finals to Reis.
Yeah, no, he's not been able to find the recipe for success here. Reis2Occasion every single game, bringing the Pokemon that he needs to bring, whether it's the Golisopod, whether it's the Gastrodon. He's bringing Golisopod and Gastrodon, if you can believe it, which realistically, something like an Azumarill may have a lot of play against, but he has such a balanced team that he has an answer for everything. Not only does he have an answer for everything in balance, but he's 1 step ahead of Haydonis.
All right, look, I'll give some credit to Haydonis, right? Realistically, thinking about the team compositions from Reis that you could bring, he brought the Marowak in the lead, and he's potentially thinking, all right, if I can catch the Drapion in the lead, even if Reis safe swaps Gastrodon, I have some play. Unfortunately for him, that's not actually what happened, but I see what he was going for.
Okay. Haydonis has the Bone Club ready to go. This is resisted. Reis2Occasion may not have his counts fully down, but he knows that if he Protect Shields this, he will be able to get to a charge attack, take this Pokemon off the field. He has the Aqua Jet ready to go. He knows that he can probably throw at least 3 Shadow Claws. And yeah, Aqua Jet will have no problem knocking out. I think he's 2 Shadow Claws away from the next charge attack. Probably is able to just Shadow Claw down if he wants, and he still has his Gastrodon ready to go. Meanwhile, Charge Bug has a charge attack ready to go, but I think that, yeah, I think Haydonis recognizes that this is not going to be his game to win.
All All right, well, they're just going to be looking ahead to game number 3 here. HaydonUs just looking at the camera, looking absolutely devastated. He's now lost 5 straight games to Reis2Occasion. And at this point, I mean, do you have any hope of rallying? Because not only are you just losing these games, I feel like it's really hard to even come up with a team that could potentially win against Reis.
So if I like HaydonUs a lot, he's a great guy, great to talk to, great battler. I don't know how he's going to come back here. I mean, I feel that you've just been mentally demoralized at this point. Just attack after attack after attack, chipping away at any sort of momentum that you felt like you had coming into this. I mean, if we look back at this replay, as a reminder, you have your Mud Slap resist, one of your Mud Slaps resist in the lead. Then you bring in the Dusclops. Okay, there's the Drapion. Oh, at least we'll have my Charge Bug, right? It's going to do... Oh, no, it's the Gastrodon. I mean, just lead, switch, endgame, no hope, despair, disaster, demoralization for HaydonUs. Nothing he can do.
Yeah, HaydonUs just looking for any tiny potential window where he can maybe get a sliver of an advantage, and it feels like Reis is just there at every corner waiting with his hard counters.
The blank stare on the face of HaydonUs there. He's got to find something. Here we go. It's the Dugong into the Golisopod.
Another horrible lead, and this time, not only is he A weak to it, he's actually AAA weak to it. How is he going to take out this Golisopod?
AAA weak, the only thing he can say is, ah! A terrible, terrible scenario for HaydonUs.
X's are coming through, and we saw how this played out in that very first game. Reis was actually even able to just completely Shadow Claw down the Dugong. You have to wonder, maybe HaydonUs remembers that. Maybe he'll try to snipe at the end with a Hex.
Yeah, no, I think that realistically this may be the best matchup that HaydonUs can have, is his Dugong into the Golisopod, but it is a bit behind in energy, so it's going to be a little bit more complex. Maybe we see a shield. I would have liked to maybe seen a shield a bit earlier before, so that you could have maybe no-shielded a debuffed attack. Yeah, but HaydonUs really just grasping at straws at this point. Don't forget, Drapion in the back for that Shadow Dusclops, and then Gastrodon versus Kanto Marowak a little bit later. Again, we're going to need to see a miracle for HaydonUs to bring this one back.
All right, Reis once again going for the Shadow Claw down. Again, able to get it just like we saw earlier on. And now Dusclops is going to come in and absorb these Aqua Jets.
How many debuffs are we at here? So 2 currently on the Golisopod? Okay. Well, is there a way that this Shadow Kanto Marowak can sweep once you get this Golisopod off the field?
I mean, there is theoretically a way, because Reis has, of course, the Gastrodon and the Shadow Drapion in the back, and HaydonUs is up a shield, but Reis is basically up a full Pokemon. He is going to be able to Mud Slap this Drapion all the way down, though.
If HaydonUs lets even one of these Aqua Tails go, I think that's it for his tournament, because then simply Gastrodon can just fast attack all the way down with his Mud Slaps. I think HaydonUs recognizes that. He's seen the Gastrodon every single game. He's anticipating it. He knows he cannot take any damage whatsoever. Here comes the Crunch, actually, which is a smart play from Reis. He knows HaydonUs is going to shield. He's going for the utility debuff. 30% chance. Will he get it?
All right, we'll have to see. He does not get it, and HaydonUs actually exits that matchup with quite a bit of energy, so, you know, maybe it's not all over yet. Reis doesn't get the Shadow Claw through, but he is still going to shield up the Golisopod anyway.
He just wants HaydonUs to dump all his energy into this Golisopod. Is he at the next move? No, he's not. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. Reis2Occasion thinks he should have had that Aqua Jet loaded and would have been able to throw it. We might have to see how this ends up in the end. Will HaydonUs have an opportunity to come back? He has no energy right now whatsoever. I think that he's going to need to make a catch if there's any hope here, because he needs to land 2 Bone Clubs. Maybe this Dusclops will have some play. I don't know if it has energy or not.
All right, first Bone Club coming through. I think a second, if it lands, would actually be enough to maybe threaten to take out this Gastrodon. Yes, it definitely would be. So Reis waiting a turn, making sure that the Earth Power lands on this Marowak, and now it's just the Dusclops to go.
I think that HaydonUs will be able to outpace to the next charge attack, because you have to get to an Earth Power as Reis2Occasion. He has tons of energy ready to go. Shadow Punch, if it's not enough to knock out, I think that a subsequent Hex or 2 will be enough. I think you're only 1 Hex away as well. HaydonUs able to bring things back. I think that Reis2Occasion sticking in that Golisopod matchup was exactly what HaydonUs needed.
Yeah, I mean, I did see Reis lose a Shadow Claw in that middle game, and I think if he gets that Shadow Claw through, he gets the Aqua Jet ready, able to charge attack priority the Marowak, and then, you know, potentially just take it out. So I think that's probably what they're discussing right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough, right, for HaydonUs there. You're thinking that, okay, I'm AAA weak to that Golisopod, but I like bringing in the Dugong. It's at least a Pokemon that the longer the matchup goes, the better it gets, and it might even set up a nice farm down for your Pokemon as well, which is what we saw. Dusclops able to get that, a lot of energy, eventually swap out and set up that Shadow Kanto Marowak. But I think the key moment that we saw there was the Shadow Claw that did not go through for the Golisopod. I don't know if we're, yeah, match is under review for this one. I think that Reis has pointed out, hey, I was supposed to get that Shadow Claw. I would have had the Aqua Jet. Yes, he could have caught, but at least I then would have knocked out that Shadow Dusclops.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what they are discussing. But regardless of whatever the outcome of that last match was, they're going to have to play another game right here. So they're just looking at their team sheets, getting ready to go no matter what the outcome of the review is.
So if I'm putting on my judge's cap here, I think this one is going to end up being a rematch. I think that that's the most likely scenario here. Of course, we'll leave it to the judges to make that determination. Either way, Haydonus, you have to have at least some takeaways from that matchup. Okay, well, it wasn't the end of the world. I had triple bad matchup, but Dugong was still able to do things. Maybe there is some hope for me. Of course, will it be demoralizing to think you have a win and have that taken away? Yes, but it maybe inspires some, okay, I have an opportunity to win. There are ways I can come back.
Yeah, Haydonus was probably looking down a very, very dark tunnel before that last game. And, now maybe there's a tiny ray of sunshine peeking through the clouds where it didn't feel like he got completely demolished that game, right? He actually eked out a win. Yes, maybe there was a lost Shadow Claw on Reis' side, but at least Haydonus had some play, which is more than we can say for some of the last couple of games.
Look, we've talked a lot about what Reis has to prove here and what he wants to individually accomplish. I think it's not only just, hey, I want to have a regional win in every single season. I think he feels motivated by his grand finals loss to Elite because of how significantly that he lost. He was on the winner's side of the bracket. He got 3-0'd and then 3-1, and realistically, one of those games, I don't even think was his game. I think that was one that Elite could have won as well. So with such a one-sided grand finals, I think Reis is hungry, and I think he's motivated to show that he is the best trainer in the world.
In the world? Oh my goodness. That'd be some high praise, but I think you're right, that Reis thinks of himself very, very highly in terms of where he stands in the global rankings, right? We know he's one of the best trainers in North America. We know he's one of the best trainers in the world. And I think winning a regional title would just kind of add to his resume and maybe just increase his standing in those kind of global rankings.
Absolutely. Haydonus, you can just see the reactions on these trainers' face right now. And Reis2Occasion, he looks locked in, he looks calm, he looks focused. You look over on the side of Haydonus, he looks a bit demoralized, he looks a bit frustrated. He really needs to get another win here to turn the tides. He's going to have any opportunity of coming back regardless of the decision here. He has to figure out how he's going to win this next game.
All right, well, I think they did actually end up deciding that that last game would be a rematch, so no points still on Haydonus's side. I think this is still a 2-0 lead for Reis2Occasion.
Haydonus may have some hope now that, hey, there is an opportunity, a window for him to win. Let's move back into game number 3. It is going to be finally a lead for Haydonus. It's the Shadow Kanto Marowak into the Steelix. Quick swap out into the Golisopod. Is there an answer? Kinda, not really.
All right, and this is actually a matchup that we saw a little bit last game. You had the super effective Shadow Claws from the Golisopod into the Dusclops, but like you said, a great lead, but no response.
You are going to have to go down Protect Shields here if you want to try and flip this. You're now in a range where you're simply going to get Shadow Claw down, throws the Shadow Punch as the Dusclops on bad timing, has the next one ready to go. Will Reis2Occasion actually end up shielding one of these? I don't think so. Yeah,
he knows that Shadow Punch isn't the strongest charge attack out there, but Haydonus just going to throw back to pack. Really wants to start pulling away at these Protect Shields.
Okay, if you get this Golisopod off the field, that is great. But it still has a lot of destinations for this energy. I mean, if you bring back in that Shadow Kanto Marowak, you're going to have to shield those Aqua Jets. I think you have to bring in the Dugong to just try and withstand these X-Scissors. I mean, can this Dugong not only... Of course it can take out a Steelix, but up a shield. How's it going to do versus this Dugong?
Well, the problem is that Reis also has his own Dugong in the back, and I mean, we saw Haydonus's lead, right? It was that Shadow Kanto Marowak.
That's what I'm saying. How is Haydonus's Shadow Kanto Marowak going to navigate around this Dugong on the side of Reis2Occasion?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm feeling very pessimistic from Haydonus's perspective here. X's are coming through, and it's going to do quite a bit of damage. Yeah, so Haydonus has to put up a shield, and now he doesn't even have his shield advantage.
Okay, brings in the Shadow Kanto Marowak. It's going to be met now by the Dugong, hitting for super effective Ice Shards. Haydonus does have the charge attack ready to go, wants to land a super effective Rock Slide. Reis2Occasion uses his Protect Shield here. Believe this is going to to be his second and final Protect Shield. It was just the Bone Club bait, but he has the Icy Wind loaded and ready to go.
That means that even if Haydonus is able to reach a Rock Slide, it's going to do much less damage, and this is looking very, very good for Reis. He's got the Dugong on the Marowak. He has the Steelix for the Dugong.
All right, here comes the next Rock Slide. I think Haydonus might throw on Charge Attack priority here. He wants to get as many Mud Slaps in as possible, but after this attack debuff, I don't know that this Rock Slide is going to be enough to take out the Dugong.
And I think Reis did maybe tap the Icy Wind there. So that was Charge Attack priority. He is going to get the Icy Wind off on this Marowak, and now all he has to do is tap his screen, get off these Thunder Fangs on the Dugong, and I think Reis is going to be a 4-time regional champion.
Yeah, because you can't really farm down anywhere here. You need to get to 2 drill runs. I don't know that 2 drill runs are going to knock out, and after 2 or 3 of these Thunder Fangs, it's going to put this Dugong so dangerously low.
All right, first drill run coming through here. You see Steelix is still above 50% health. That means the next drill run probably isn't going to be enough to take out, and now Reis just one fast attack away from winning this championship.
That's right, in what we can only describe as a David versus Goliath. Sometimes Goliath wins, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Reis2Occasion is your 2025 Vancouver Regional Pokemon Go champion. Congratulations, he has won a regional in 4 consecutive seasons.
A dominant grand finals performance for Reis. 3-0 to reset the bracket and a 3-0 to win that title.